Good afternoon all. My name's Alex from Aurora. Firstly, a quick thanks to everyone in attendance. I appreciate that you're all busy, but we feel the next 30 minutes will be of great value to yourselves and your school or business. So where do Aurora fit into this? Aurora carefully select the best of breed suppliers. What that means is that we look at the market and pressure test every solution so we feel comfortable that we find the correct partner to work with. Aurora add value to this partnership by wrapping it with our professional services team and consultative approach. Anyone can pick a product off the shelf, but providing a full end-to-end solution is truly what Aurora specialises in. Not only ensuring customers have the right products, but ensuring they receive maximum value by utilising the solution to its peak. Understanding customer and specific industry pain points and requirements, then offering additional value as a complete local national solutions provider. Our customers are busy enough doing the jobs that they need to be doing. We take away the requirement for you to be fully trained on the setup and implementation of an advanced solution and allow you to start using the solution right away, seeing the benefits from the beginning. Also, if you'd like to ask any questions, please drop it in the question box, which is monitored by Bree, our marketing manager, who will pick up your questions throughout and pass them over to the subject matter experts throughout the presentation. I'd like to now pass you over to Gary Henderson, the subject matter expert from Sign-in. Gary.
Thanks very much, Alex, and yeah, thanks for inviting us along to show off the products, and delighted to be working with Aurora, offering that value add to the solutions. So hi everyone, I'm going to start off with just a few slides just explaining a bit about what the product is, what it's about. We're going to show you some live demonstrations as well. It's obviously not a full demonstration, so please, if you've got any questions, feel free to ask, and we'll also be sharing some contact details at the end as well to contact if you have more information, if you have more questions, or you want to see more of the solutions. So okay, so what is Sign-in App? Sign-in App is a visitor, contractor, staff and workplace management solution, and different people use it for different reasons. Some people just want to use it to manage visitors and contractors accessing their premises. But what is a visitor? You know, we would class a visitor as being anybody who enters over your door threshold, that being employees, contractors, temporary staff, everybody. So being able to manage staff time and attendance. If you're an education establishment, being able to record the late arrival or early leaving of pupils and also write that back to your MIS system. Being able to manage remote workers or hybrid workforce, capacity, knowing how many people are in a certain zone or location, having the ability to book desks, meetings, meeting rooms, car parking spaces. Some people just use it for events management, others just purely for fire evacuation, knowing who everybody is that is expected to be at a fire roll call, whether it's pupils, staff, contractors, visitors, and others just simply to be compliant with GDPR. I won't go into this in detail, but GDPR compliance, the probably least compliant document that you have from a GDPR perspective would be a paper visitor book lying at reception. Not only does it contain personal information, but it's not easily controlled, and it's also visible by the public. Now, just to give you an idea of the kind of look and feel, we are a completely securely hosted, web-hosted application, so you don't need to bother your IT department about servers or ports or any security restrictions on your network. So it's hosted in the cloud. It's also an iPad solution. So again, there's no proprietary touch screens, cameras, barcode scanners, anything like that required. So to keep the cost down, to make it as compatible as possible, even if you wanted to use your own iPads to trial this or to actually use in real life. And there's various different stands available, whether they're desk mounted, wall mounted, stand on the floor. There's no limit to the amount of staff that we impose, so whether that be from Azure or Google Workspace or your school MIS system synchronization, there's no limit to the number of users in the system or the number of visitors that you have each day or each week or each month. There's no limit to the number of sites that you can have. So if you're a trust or a business with multiple locations, you can add as many as you like. However, that is the license part of the application. The subscription license is based on the number of sites. Again, you can have an unlimited number of kiosks on the site, an unlimited number of questions, messages, video messages. We'll give you a quick brief overview of what that looks like in a moment. We can also supply a fully compatible thermal badge printer that can print out sticky media or paper media inside lanyards or badge holders. And like I say, you've got a choice of which type of kiosk mount that you would like to use. So it's designed to be as simple as possible and to keep the cost as low as possible. Now, there are various different bits within the application. Some people use a certain selection. Two companies sometimes are the same in exactly what they're using and how they're using it. So we're not going to go into a full demonstration today. We're just going to touch on some of the highlights. But I also want to bring to your attention why a lot of people think that visitor management is maybe not suitable or what the challenges are. Now, we are going to focus on education a wee bit in this quick demonstration, primarily because with education, there are a lot more strict statutory requirements about people that are working with children or basically coming into a very secure location, but it's obviously applicable to all commercial businesses depending on which bits that you're actually using. Going beyond visitor management though, some of the things that we've added as modules as part of the application, one of them is what we call spaces, and this is the ability to book a desk, book a meeting room, that could be book a car parking space, it could be booking equipment out, different things like that. Basically a booking system where you can make spaces or things or places available for certain times of the day. You can tag it with different information. For instance, a desk might be tagged with what size of monitor it's got, whether it's got a telephone on it, and allow you to search and filter on that information. Our scheduling module allows you to have your visitors or your customers choose what slots, when they want to come and visit you. So you can basically give them a link that they can click on, they can check availability, they can book a slot to come and visit you, and the process is seamless by pre-registering them as a visitor, giving them a QR code or directions on how to get to you, but also synchronizing with availability slots in your calendar to give a seamless booking experience. And my colleague Lisa is going to go into this in a bit more detail just at the end, but actually talking about the central record plugin to Sign-in App visitor management, why that's important, why without it there can be various different problems, etc. So I'm now going to jump over to give you a quick demonstration. And like I say, the first place that we're going to start here is we're going to look at the web application. So the web application, like I say, nothing to install. It's a secure website that you go to. You log in with your own credentials, and you can restrict who can see what within the system as well. Whether you want to restrict the names of all the staff or whether you want to restrict the configuration of the system, etc. But this is our today page. It's almost like a landing page or a receptionist page. Allows you to get an overview of who's signed in today, and we'll touch on that a wee bit more in a second. The other thing I'm going to jump over to here and just to explain what's on the screen here. On the left hand side we have my iPad screen sharing, and again I've just got it set up as a Grange Hill School just as a bit of an example. And on the right hand side we have something which is known as Companion App. Again, no additional charges for as many devices as you want, as many users as you want using Companion. You don't have to use Companion App, but again I'll show you some of the benefits. So to start from the very beginning of the visitor experience, that may actually start with scheduling, but when they arrive on site, what they see. So again, we look at the iPad screen here. You can see there's contactless QR codes. If you don't want to touch it, you scan it with your phone. You can have the exact same sign-in experience. We can have the date. We can be looking for QR codes. It's on somebody's email or an invitation. But you can also see here we've got tap screen to use tap screen or use contactless. So everything about this screen can be customized. We can remove the language flag, hide the clock, switch anything on or off, and it's fully your branding. When I click on the screen or touch the screen, you can see I've just got three basic options here: sign in, sign out, or a delivery. Again, is something optional that you can switch on if you want. It's included, but you can switch it on. We also have the ability to change the language. So I want to see it in German or I want to see it in Greek. I can see that experience in the language of the visitor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on sign in. Now, every other screen after this as well is completely customizable. So you can have as many different groups as you want. The reason we have different groups is so that the experience can be different. So I might be signing in as an approved contractor, and if I start putting in my details, yeah, Eric, the electrician, we're asking a question here, where are you going to be working today? I'm going to be working on the ground floor. And that's basically it. You can have a bespoke welcome message for a specific group, etc. as well. But that's how simple it would be for a contractor. Again, very similar with a member of staff. So I could say, click on the teachers group here, call it whatever you want. But if I put in Eric Griffiths, before anybody points out that Eric Griffiths was a janitor and not a teacher, I know that, but again, you could have a separate group for that also. Okay, this time I'm going to sign in as a student. Now, students or pupils wouldn't normally sign in and sign out every day. They can do if you wish, but they don't have to. But where we would normally utilise the system here would be to capture any late arrivals or early leavers. So if I click on students, if I start typing in a name, let's say David Edwards, it's asking me, okay, why are you signing in? Well, what's your reason for being late? Again, these questions are completely customizable. They can be free to type, they can be a drop-down list. I'm going to say I overslept. And again, you can have any particular message that you actually wanted there also. Just to show you the same, because even though this next person has never signed in, if I put in Jules and I say I want to sign out, it's asking why I'm signing out, why I'm leaving early. And again, this information can be written back to your MIS system also if you have a compatible one, but I'll say, you know, I'm going home because of an illness, I'm not feeling well. And that's that pupil now signed out. Last one I'll show you here is signing in as a visitor. So this would either maybe be a contractor that's not approved, and we'll come on to approval and how we know they're approved in a moment. But if I, let me see, if I put in Angus Smith, next. So you can see here, company or pupil representing. Again, every single question here is fully customizable. I'll say I'm from Aurora. Who am I visiting? So again, you know, I can type in a name. So it's Mr. Baxter that I'm looking to come in and see. Again, an example of a question, it's all in uppercase, which is vehicle registration. Another example of a type of question you can be used. This is a yes/no type question where we can actually program in specific rules depending on how you answer. So if I said yes, and I'll show you that in the background in a moment, but it would then prevent me from actually signing in. But I'll say no there. Again, because we know this as a visitor, we're explaining some rules, maybe about, you know, you're not allowed to smoke, you're not allowed to take any pictures or video recordings, maybe a fire alarm, or your GDPR statement as well. So the user is actually giving you permission to keep their data. And again, we can fully control the data retention of that, something that you cannot do with a visitor book. Click on next. Again, this is just an example of, you can show a file. This could be a document, a picture, anything at all. It can actually be a video that you can actually show them that they have to watch when they sign in. If you want, and you can see my mug here now, you can take a visitor photo. Again, it's optional if you want. But then what it can do is it will actually create a visitor badge, and you can see there that one says escorted visitor because I'm not approved as a visitor. So, and I've just received an email as well to tell me that a visitor has arrived. So I've been notified as the host, as Mr. Baxter, to say you've got a visitor at reception for you, and that can be via email, text message, Teams, Slack, anything like that at all that you use. We can send that that notification. Okay, so that's the iPad. I'll very quickly show you that this bit here on the right hand side, this is our companion app, can be used for multiple things. Again, can be used for staff members to sign in and out. We can actually automatically sign them in and out based on a geofence. So when they enter the premises, it automatically signs them in. We've got barcodes, we've got information about how long I've been signed in this week. If I've got the permission, I can actually see visitors. So there's Angus Smith that signed in at 2:15. You know, I can look and see, you know, what contractors or what other teachers are signed in. I can click on their details to see what they entered, anything like that at all. Again, it's all permission driven about what I'm allowed to do. I can look at my own history to see when I signed in and signed out on various different days of the week. And I've also got the ability to actually start a fire evacuation process. This one's actually already going. I didn't close it down from my last demonstration, but it allows me to check and see when the fire alarm goes off and I run a fire evacuation, everybody that signed in using the system, or pupils that were marked as present in the register. If you've got a compatible MIS system, we can also pull that information so that you've got one fire evacuation register that we can go through the various different people and mark them all as present within the application. Okay, so again, not a full demonstration, but just to give you a look at how that looks. Sorry, I didn't mean to click sign out there. So that's me signed back in. So we're going to jump back over to the web portal just now. Again, this is live, so it's always live, it's always available. Again, great in an emergency, because if you've got a power cut and your systems aren't working, then, you know, I can look at the fire evacuation from my mobile phone and still see everybody who was actually signed in. But I can see my visitors that were signed in here. I can see what information they put in. I can look at my contractors. I can look at, you know, students that have signed in late or signed out, and why they signed out. So I've got all this information here. I can also run various different reports, etc., to look at that information. But one of the things that I wanted to touch on with you here is when we're looking at contractors and we're looking at staff members, etc. One of the issues that come up several times in the past is that the receptionist is not aware of who is actually allowed in and who's not allowed in. Now, that might be staff members, it might be contractors. Maybe in your single central record, you have a list of, you know, all contractors that have been DBS checked, you know, that they have got adequate insurance cover or any certification that's required to be on site or to be safe working unsupervised in an establishment with vulnerable children. So what we've enabled is this new world, if you like, of linking the systems. So obviously, somebody sitting at reception may not have access to your central record because it contains very sensitive data, criminal record checks, you know, details and documents and passports, IDs, training qualifications, a lot of very sensitive information that's normally secured by the school business manager or the HR manager, but the receptionist may not necessarily have access to that information. So what we can do is we can synchronize those systems together and allow that list of approved people that can come on site linked in with the visitor management, so that when somebody signs in, we can either stop them from signing in if all the criteria isn't met and their central record is not up to date or something has expired, or we can allow them to sign in but to flag up a notice to somebody, an email or a message to somebody to say, you know, Angus Blogs is signed in today, but making you aware that, you know, this information is out of date, or, you know, they've failed their safety check. Now, you may just want to give your receptionist or your front desk staff access to see that, yeah, everything is fine with this person, or you might want them to see, actually know that the central record check failed, but that might be all the information that you want to give them. You could give them a bit more information to say, okay, well, I'll actually show you, not show you the details, but show you why they actually failed the checks when they come in, so you can actually view whatever you have listed here. So again, this is one of the main value adds and the kind of uniqueness of the sign-in solutions, is that we can bring these two systems together. So you've got one central place that, you know, your HR team or your school business manager is updating the central record and keeping that up to date, but without somebody having to manually copy that information over to a visitor management system, or for the reception staff to have access to your central record database, or however you actually store that. It allows this seamless integration right through. Again, we can look at reports. You can run various different timesheet reports, maybe for for staff. You can run reports on history, when people signed in, when they signed out, any exceptions, looking at reports on bookings if you're booking spaces, or showing your various different evacuation reports and how they looked, and what that, you know, when it was done, how long it lasted for, to prove that everybody was marked as accounted for, etc. Last thing, and again, the managed tab is only really administrators would have access to this, but just to give you an idea of how simple it is to create a question, or what we would call a custom field. And here's the example question here, where we created within the last 14 days, have you had symptoms of, etc., etc. We've set this as a yes/no question, and we've also set up a reject. So if they select yes, then we can actually present a specific message to say that that's not available. Again, any questions you actually write, you can also provide your own unique translations for those questions as well, if it's not something that's automatically translated for you. So yeah, that's the kind of main look and feel of the system. Like I say, normally we don't just spend 15 minutes giving a demonstration, but it gives you an idea of how the system looks and feels. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Lisa, who is our education compliance specialist and everything to do with single central records, and I shall pass you over to Lisa, and she can give you a quick overview of how that looks and how that information is fed back to your visitor management system.
Okay, thanks, Gary. Hopefully everyone can see my screen okay. Afternoon, everyone. My name's Lisa. I'm the Head of Customer Success at Sign-in Central Records. So as Gary said, I'm just going to give you a brief run through of all the key features of Sign-in Central Record, which is a browser-based system that was originally designed for use in schools and trusts as a more efficient, user-friendly way to record and view the single central record, as opposed to using Excel spreadsheets or alternative systems that are just a little bit trickier to use. So it's been set up and built in line with keeping children safe in education, which means it includes by default all of the statutory pre-employment checks, as well as some best practice checks as well, to ensure that schools and trusts are always compliant and ready ahead of inspections. This is also maintained by us and our in-house safeguarding consultant to ensure nothing is missed when keeping children safe in education gets updated, and we update all of our users via email when any changes do come about. So the main dashboard that you can see on my screen at the moment is just a very clear visual way for schools and trusts to see your compliance levels and clearly see if you've got any missing information. And it also allows you to identify what information is missing as well. So as it's set out by default, you can see over here I've got a profile summary. So this lists out all of the profile types that we have available. So we've included teaching staff down through to contractors by default, and all of the pre-employment checks for each of those profile types is already pre-built in. But you can also create your own if you do want to separate out into any further groups. And then you've got your profile scores over on the right hand side here. So this is showing me if I have any missing statutory or non-statutory information per profile type. So you can see here I've got 6 teaching staff who have missing data. So if I click into that part of the bar chart, that would take me directly to a list of who those teaching staff members are, and then I can just jump into a profile page. So the profile pages, again, were designed to be really clear and visual, so it's apparent immediately what information is missing rather than having to search around for it. So if I open the identity check section here, you can see again, it's really clearly marked that I'm missing a date. Something else that we've built in is what we call late date validation to ensure that any statutory checks that have to be completed before a person's start date are compliant as per the guidance, as this is what inspectors will be cross-referencing against. So if, for example, I put in today's date here, because this is later than the start date that's on this profile, I've now got a warning here to let me know that's not compliant. It could be an issue for inspection. The system would let you enter this date and save as is, because obviously there will be some scenarios, for example, with DBS checks coming back late, where you can't always get them back ahead of a start date. So in that situation, you would leave the date as is, leave the late date warning there. It's just there to remind you to do what you would be doing anyway, i.e. leaving a note. In that scenario, again, if you've perhaps started someone on a risk assessment ahead of their DBS check coming back, you might actually then want to upload the risk assessment that you've carried out to their profile, just so it's all in one place come inspection time. So you can upload as many documents as you like per profile page. The next tab along the top here, we've actually recently partnered with Verifile so that our schools and trusts can now actually order DBS checks and various other checks through the system itself as well. So that's all in one place and everything is integrated in to make life easier. The template itself is fully customizable as well. So while schools and trusts specifically can't remove anything statutory, they can add in any extra steps that they carry out around any of the default sections here, or you can actually customize further to include any additional information you want to record in one place. For example, staff training, if you're carrying out internal audits. So a lot of our schools seem to be just trying to include as much as possible to avoid having to use multiple systems and multiple spreadsheets. The system also has full reporting functionality, which includes both default reports, which we've already built and provided, but also the ability to create custom reports on anything that you're recording across the system. And then finally, just under settings, each user has an area here to set up email notifications for themselves. So for example, if you wanted either a daily or a weekly summary just to come through to you to show you a summary of your SCR's compliance. And then you've also got access from here to our support team. So the support within subscriptions is unlimited. You can actually access us through the system itself by clicking the help icon and start a live chat. And if we do need to actually see your system, you can give us remote access by clicking this button here, and then we can help out. You've also then got the ability to add in as many different users as you want to, and you can be really specific about their permissions here based on what their role is, what they're actually going to be doing in the system. So for example, you can give maybe the head teacher read-only access if they're just there in an auditing capacity. You've then also got a full audit log as well as the history tab per profile. So this logs everything across the whole system and can be filtered down by date, user, and also by event as well, just so that you've got full transparency there. I'm also just going to very briefly show you how you would import your information from your existing spreadsheets into our system. And that is a really simple copy and paste exercise. So you would just be grabbing whole columns from your spreadsheet and pasting them into what we call our bulk importer. And you don't need to format your existing spreadsheet in terms of moving columns around. You can just use our nice handy field filter down the side here to just do that one section at a time as it appears on your existing spreadsheet. So that's a really brief sort of quick tour around Sign-in Central Record. I'll hand back to Gary now. So let me just pop that back to you, Gary.
Thank you very much. And yeah, so I don't know if there are any typed questions or anything like that just now, Bree, or if anybody wants to ask any questions. As Lisa incidentally had already mentioned, although everything here has all been designed and displayed to you for mainly an education audience today, Central Record part as well is fully available for commercial businesses. Obviously within education there are a lot of statutory requirements and a lot of specialists in compliance and education and what's required and what you need for inspections, etc., is all kind of burnt into the application itself. But in commercial, you may still have things like DBS requirements or identity checks, or it might just be as simple as an onboarding process to make sure you've checked the right to work in the UK, you've checked the training requirements or their CV or any information that you want to capture on repeat visitors, be it contractors or staff member onboarding and things like that as well. But are there any questions at all from anybody? Please use the questions option if you do.
No questions as of yet. I think we can move on.
Okay, no problem at all. Well, that really brings us to the end of today. Nice and tight on the time there, within the 30 minutes. Alex, I'll hand back over to you.
Well, thank you, team. Hopefully, just by running through the presentation today, we've answered a lot of your questions. But if you feel there's any additional questions prior to after this, then
Alex,
please feel free to reach out to me.
There has actually been one question. This is question is, does the system work with Paxton readers and so staff can sign in using Paxton Net2 fobs?
Yes, absolutely. So we actually have a card reader that fits on to the iPad kiosk. We're not just restricted to Paxton. Actually, there's actually over 100 different types of fobs that we can recognise. But Paxton is definitely one of them. So yes, you're absolutely right. For a staff member or MD who does have a fob, it's as simple as when you walk past the unit, just tapping your fob onto the little card reader that sticks out the side, and it automatically signs you in or signs you out.
One more. Does there need to be a person physically to let people into the building, or does it link to the door entry system?
So as you can imagine, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different types of door entry systems. We do have an API available that can detect, or you can, read information on when somebody has successfully signed in, etc. But we don't. We make that our data available, but we don't have any direct ones that we have just now. We are working with one company, Brevo. Part of the issue sometimes is that, again, we are a cloud hosted solution. Okay, so nothing needs to be installed on your network. Door access systems are normally an installed application on a PC or server, and all the wiring, etc., inside your office. But Brevo is a company that actually deal with cloud door access management and being able to unlock a door with a QR code and things like that as well, based in the cloud with nothing installed. So apart from Brevo, we don't integrate with other door access systems to automatically unlock or open doors, but our API is available if that was something that was of interest.
So thank you all so much for your time. If you have any other technical questions moving forward, please feel free to reach out to myself. My email address is on the screen, arollo@aurora.co.uk. And thank you very much for your time today.